Salve, my friends. Welcome to Imperator Rome. My name is Tobel. This is the next big entry from Paradox Interactive. Also, thank you to Paradox for this review copy so I can take a look here before release on April 25th and show you what's coming up in the next grand strategy entry in the Paradox family. So, lots of opportunities here. I'm very, very excited, mostly because I am absolutely obsessed with this kind of time frame. And there will be no way that I pass up an opportunity to play as Rome and make horrible, horrible decisions for the glory of us all. So this is the map. Welcome. It very much resembles how... isn't there a Crusader Kings 2 mod, Shattered World or Shattered Earth or something like that, that splits all the kingdoms and duchies into counties? It reminds me a lot of that. You can start as any of these regional powers, or sorry, these powers that might be local, or they might be regional. We also have some established empires already that the game suggests. We've got Egypt here, Carthage, for example, Macedon, as well as the Seleucids, and our map ranges from the Atlantic coast through mainland Europe, Spain, Northern Africa, as well as Greece, and into the breadbasket over to India. So quite a large area that you can play in. Some of the areas of Asia, as well as Russia, are currently set to impassable terrain. I don't think this is anything that's playable at the moment, and I'm not sure if this is going to be added as well as up here in Scandinavia. We do have some coastal Scandinavian areas available to us. Not sure if that's going to be in a DLC or not. So I know that right after release, they are planning on, of course, releasing a 1.1 patch. This is going to include some items that the Paradox team has already identified. I think they're going to try to work on some of the naval combat and make it a little bit improved, as well as, of course, listening to the feedback of players during the release. So expect a 1.1 patch. I think right now it's been really, really smooth for me. I've not had any crashes, knock on wood, and I've really enjoyed my time. So, welcome. This is Rome. It is 450 ab urbe condita, which is after the founding of the city. So it's 450 years after the founding of Rome, which is 304 BC. We are going to click on Rome and take a look at the information panel here on the right. And this is, of course, the same for any area that we happen to click on. So you're getting information about the ruler, the government type, and their population, and any kind of active diplomacy settings. So Rome is currently led by a consul. Remember, we're not in the dictator era yet. We're not in the anywhere where the Caesars are in play. This is still where the Senate elects a consul to rule for a set amount of time before being elected, or someone else elected to replace them. So, Consul Publius Sempronius Sophus, I believe he is of the Sempronii family. Yes, he is. He is currently leading Rome. Now, you are the nation, by the way. You are not the leader, per se, right? Crusader Kings were very much focused on establishing your family dynasty, right? This is very much, no, you are the nation. Your goal is to make sure your nation weathers the storms of both external threats and internal politics. So there's a lot of politics in the game. Lots of interesting things, I think, pulled from Crusader Kings 2. You'll see tons of things pulled from Europa Universalis 4. So obviously they've pulled on a lot of their different influences. I believe this actually was an original release. There was a Rome... I can't even find it right now because there's so much Imperator Rome information out there on the Googles, but there was an original Rome release, and this is, I think, the either spiritual or actual successor to that. So, very excited. By the way, I'm not by any means a professional at this or any EU title. I normally get by and then, make horrible mistakes. So expect me to say things wrong, get some information wrong. I'm not really into mid or late game at this point either. So we're going to be exploring this. This will be a very short kind of introductory let's play, and just to show you what the game is going to have for you and to show you how to get started with whatever nation you play. I think a lot of these things can be taken from Rome to other areas. Maybe not the same for the tribal the settled tribe governments. By the way, they did have a challenge, I believe, for 5 popular YouTubers that do a lot of Paradox titles. So each of them was given a different type of government. So if you're curious about a certain type of government, I would highly suggest Googling, settled tribe, let's play, what have you. And there was an earlier release or an earlier coverage here a couple days ago. So lots of good information there as well. Right, so Rome, we are a local power. This is a measurement of how many cities we currently have. So we're a local power. You can see in the tooltip, it gives us a bit of a diplomatic range and relations. And as you level up as you get more cities, you level up your power level. It's over 9,000, and you can get different bonuses to it. So you can, get to be a regional power, and you can threaten war. You can say, look, I am a mighty regional power. Give me your territory, or I'm going to kill all of you. And they'll be like, oh, sure, please don't hurt me. So we've got the local, regional, and major, and then great power. I don't think anyone's a great power at the start. Major still, and the Seleucid Empire is still major. So no one is really a great empire. Maybe one of them is, I just have not found yet. But the Etruscans to our north, they're actually considered a regional power. So in theory, they're larger than we are in terms of just how many cities they own. Right. We are, of course, the Hellenic region or religion, and we are of Roman culture. We are an aristocratic republic, and our ruler has certain stats, which we'll get into here in a bit. He is part of the civic faction, by the way. That's what that little symbol tells us. And the coin says he's our current ruler. We have 23 cities, some population that is split between citizens, freemen, tribesmen, and slaves. And each of those population groups does something for your nation. This is our active diplomacy. We are the overlord of 4 smaller areas here that we've already either conquered or made diplomatic subjects of. And down here in the bottom corner, of course, we have our standard, difficulty level. I think hard increases the AI, gives them some bonuses to taxes and to their morale overall. Actually, it looks like the morale pretty much stays the same. It's just that it increases the tax or the manpower and the ruler popularity. Okay, Iron Man, and then we also have mixed gender. So obviously, this is a historically accurate game, and because of that, women in this time frame were very marginalized and did not have positions of leadership. So if you'd like to play with an even board, you can go ahead and enable the mixed gender rules right here. And this, I believe, lets women have the same types of leadership and choices in government as male characters do. We're going to jump right into the game. I'm going to keep it on the historical accuracy for now and jump right into becoming the Senate and people of Rome. So I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited. We're all Roman here. There's a little bit of history here. For over 20 years, the nascent Roman Republic has fought a harsh campaign against the Samnite people to the south. Blah, blah, blah. We kicked their butts. Absolutely. Right. I'm not going to get into every single tab. I kind of want to just jump in the game and let's see what happens naturally. The first thing we want to do, though, before we unpause, is pick our ideas. So every country, nation, I shouldn't say every. I don't know if the settled tribes have this type of government, this type of government options. Oh, actually, yeah, I can see right here. So settled tribes, in the tooltip, it tells me that they have 1 military idea and 1 oratory idea. We, as an aristocratic republic, have 2 military idea slots and 1 oratory. If we check out the decisions menu, you can see other types of governments have other types of idea slots. So what does that mean? Well, if you match an idea with its associated slot, and you do that all 3 times, or however many slots you have, you'll get a bonus. And the bonus is determined, I believe, by your government style. So if we pick 2 military ideas and 1 oratory idea, we would get this bonus activated. Loyalty increases, freeman happiness increase, and 1 to each of the, it's 1 to just 3, no, it's all 4. It's 1 to each of the 4 powers, or this is a type of currency that we get every month that we can spend on different things. So very important to have. I'm going to go ahead and go into the military idea slot and pick one of our first military ideas. Now, some of these are restricted based on your level, your progress in that area. So we only have a progress level of, 0 in martial. So the first thing I'm going to pick is martial ethos. That's going to give me a flat 10% morale bonus to all of my troopers. We're going to go into the second one. Now here it's between permanent shipyards, which reduces the cost of triremes, which is our only ship available. I think it's the only ship. And ordered retreat, which gives us some bonuses when pulling away from combat. Now, I primarily plan on expanding and securing the Italian peninsula first. So I don't plan on doing a lot of naval combat yet. We're not gonna poke the Carthaginian bear yet. We're mostly gonna focus on our own territory. So I'm gonna go ahead and focus on ordered retreat because I actually have had to pull back because of, surprise, poor tactical decisions on my part. All right. Along with that, I'm going to pick an oratory idea. Now, we have sanction privileges, military administration, and hospitium, which is corruption reduction, loyalty bonuses, and improved opinion maximum each. So, improved opinion maximum, if I look at any of these other nations and open the diplomacy, this is what they think of us, and this is what we think of them. the maximum opinion, increasing the maximum opinion, you have a certain cap here of how much you can kind of grow their like of you, right? So you can try to encourage them by influence actions here, relations actions. We can try to improve their opinion of us over 50%. I think it's an overall cap. Let's see. I don't know if it's going to be, this increases their opinion of us by 50 over time. If I pick this idea, improve opinion maximum 33%, does that affect the action or the overall cap? Oh, it actually affects the action. So by taking that, we had a 33% increase in improve opinion. So improve opinion is the action you can take through diplomacy under the relationship or relation actions. It costs 50 oratory power to start, and it'll increase our opinion, their opinion of us by 66. So that is a very important value, because if we want to start integrating our subject nations, if we go under, where'd it go? Under, am I actually not even highlighting? No, I need to highlight someone who's actually our subject. Here we go. Let's take the Marcia. Is it the Martians? Yeah, we're going to call them the Martians. Under influence actions, we're currently, they're a feudatory status. So if we were to integrate them, we would need to have 190 opinion of, they would need to have that of us. So we would want to use this improve opinion to make that a little bit higher. And as you see, this was probably at 100, and now it's at 133. So very, very useful. We also can change our stance here, which gives us certain bonuses. Now, I can't see the previews of what these are, so we're going to get back to this once we have more oratory power. Right, we have our bonus in place, we have our ideas, we're excited. We've got 4 little banners here. This is very similar if you've played Crusader Kings 2 or Europa Universalis. Of course, anything that needs your attention will drop down a bit of a banner and say, hey, look at me, I need your human interaction. So the first thing we see here is that we're lacking a commander for both the 1st Legion and our Navy. You take a look at the green bar here. This is also the morale of your current force. So we are at 2.7 maximum. If you look down in the tooltip, it also tells us that because we don't have a general here, we are reducing that by 25%. So it's very, very important that you give your armies a leader. Now, for our first leader, I'm actually going to choose our current consul, Publius Sempronius Sophus of the Sempronii family. God, I love Latin names so much. Even though I'm going to butcher a bunch of them, I sound really fancy when I say it. So he is our current ruler. Now, I would love for him to get a bit more popular, because that way I can try to shove some things down the Senate's throat. I want to be able to push my own agenda through and, do certain actions with other nations without having to worry so much about what the Senate thinks of it. So I'm going to assign him as the leader of the... It doesn't hurt that he's got a pretty decent martial score overall. Perfect. I don't actually know. The martial score, I think it determines your rolls, I'm sure, and there's some other calculations. Honestly, there are so many calculations in any type of grand strategy like this, especially Europa Universalis 4 and Imperator Rome. I am not going to be 100% accurate on what all these things do yet. So I do apologize if I give you incorrect information. It is not my intent to mislead you. It is only out of ignorance that I give you this wrong information. I apologize in advance. Right, our Navy needs a leader as well. What is this little symbol here? Oh, the unit is invisible because of Fog of War. Cool, we'll check on that in a little bit later. So for our first Admiral, let's go ahead and, let's see, 47, 43... Both of these guys are 8 in their martial. Now, if I hover over their name, I get some information about their traits and also their ambition. Now, none of them, I don't think any of these characters here, by the way, these are all characters from major families in Rome. I don't think any of them want to become a general or an admiral. You can see the ambition there. Some of them want to become the Tribunus Plebis, Censor. We've got more of the same, pretty much. No one wants to be a general. Apparently, it's a little bit dangerous. But guess what? Flavius... You're of the religious, you're of the civic. I'm going to go ahead and play favorites here, because I'm going to try to play a little bit of a role play, because we do have a leader that's guiding the nation. So he's going to have his own agenda. Now, our leader, Publius here, is jealous, victorious, and wise. So that's pretty helpful, but I think that he would help out his own faction just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and give this admiralship to Publius here. Publius. He goes by Pub. It's his what his friends call him. All right, next up, our next warning symbol here is telling us that we have some scorned families, and we're going to come back to that because, well, I don't really understand it, and I'm going to skip it and pretend I know. Right, on to inventions. So this is basically the technology advancement of your nation. Rome, of course, is starting at level 0 because we're just starting the game. We know how to put a sword in our hand and poke a little bit in front of us. by doing a bunch of math, you can find out how much you're going to be getting, how much progress you're making. It's like, I don't know if it's a flat 100 each level or if it's going to be, doubled or something like that. But we're basically making 1.25 progress every month towards Martial Advances 1. And it's a combination of your research points, which comes from citizens and different things, as well as efficiency. It's a bunch of calculations. Basically, it's this plus this equals that. You can hover over all these things to find out all the calculation and do all the math to your heart's content. The bonus that your researchers give is based on that, that resources ability. So if I click on Lucius here, Lucius has a 10 martial score. So therefore, he's giving us 100% bonus to martial advances. So for example, down here, Lucius Postumius, Magellus would give us only 70 because he has a skill of 7 he has 7 zeal. It's his attribute. All right. So we get some inventions. Every time we hit an advancement level, it will unlock some new inventions. I don't know if it's every single level we get inventions, but I think it is. I think I've seen them come up quite a bit. Each invention is going to cost us 100 civic points. So I want to start the game. We have 200 civic power. I'm going to go ahead and go with, hey, I love money. If we look at our treasury, we're making quite a bit more from taxes than we are from commerce. So I want to keep boosting that tax rate up. So I'm going to go ahead and take property tax first. And I'm also going to take herbalism, because herbalism gives us a 5% bonus to all of our research speeds. Bam, 75, 105, 95, 105, excellent. Now we're broke. We have no more civics to give. We've used all of our civics. Let's head over to the Omen tab. So when you hit a certain point, which is a calculation based on the base cost minus whatever bonuses you have, we have the ability to call down an Omen, which gives us a pretty massive boost. Now, this is determined by the power of your Omen, which is determined, in this case, by our Augur. I know it's a lot of calculations. Don't worry too much about it right now. Basically, just go with your gut. If it looks pretty, take it. We'll talk about more of the math later on. I'm going to go keep boosting that national tax modifier here by 22%. So, Blessing of Pluto. Pluto, I think the god of mercantilism or merchants. Yeah, give me that money, my friend. Was it merchants or is it taxes? I don't know. So we have, the only thing left is Scorn Families. I'm going to go ahead and start the game, by the way, because I'm talking a bunch and we need a little bit more action. We've got our army. Now you're going to see that our army now has 3.45 maximum morale instead of what was it, 2.7. So by having our general here, everyone's a little bit happier. I don't quite like the layout of our current army, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of archers. I don't think, well, mostly from an RP standpoint. I mean, there's different calculations in the game, and certain units do certain damage or increase based on what it is. So, for example, like you're seeing it right here on the tooltip. Let me pause real quick because you have a diplomatic offer I want to get to. But the archers are going to do bonus damage against light infantry. They're going to do neutral damage against chariots, or maybe that's their effectiveness level. And the attrition weight, I think, it's basically how heavy that unit is overall. So if we go into the supply map mode and we hover over the city of Rome, which is where our current First Legion is, we see that we have a weight of 17, which means that some of these units, for example, the attrition weight is a little bit more because of the infantry. So it's not always exactly, how many thousands of troops you have. There is some different calculations there. So we have a weight of 17. I don't like to bump this up higher than about 15 units or 15 weight or so, because while Rome is great, we've got tons of supplies in Rome. Well, if we start to invade other territories, for example, the red is telling us if we go here, we would have attrition. So I'm going to try to keep that pretty low if possible. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and split the First Legion here. Split in half, here we go. And I'm going to order up some new units. Now, you can either order units through the construction tab here. There's you can go to like the actual tab. That's how you can do some building construction. Or you can use this macro builder, which is really, really easy to use. So recruit cohorts, for example, and choose what I want to have built. I'm actually going to use a function of the army tab, which is this little recruit to army button here. So whenever I do this, it's going to automatically queue up some people to be recruited. I think it's probably based on who has the most available manpower, and then they'll go automatically to that unit that you kind of chose them from. Right, so I want to have kind of a kind of almost like a traditional Roman army might have a similar thing. So we're going to have 5 units of Velites, and then we'll do 5 units overall of heavy infantry. So I'll queue up 3 more Principes. Not historically accurate. I think at this point we didn't even have Hastati or Principes, but the Velites were originally skirmishers who threw their spears, I think, before battle, while the Hastati were kind of the cheaper, younger light infantry, and the Hastati were more of the veterans. Let's see, do we order them from... Uh-oh. Did I already forget who ordered where? I super did. Oh well, I'm going to order some more troops here. And we're... Oh, you know what? I can probably tell because we ordered 3. Okay, there we go. So, back into the Recruit to Army tab. I'm going to do the same thing with the 2nd Legion. I'm going to do 5 Velites and only 2 Principes. Perfect. I'm going to keep the archers there because they're going to help me out and do a little bit of extra damage. I'm also going to keep the light cavalry where they are. These little buttons here talk about what order your units are going to engage. So you've got a primary cohorts, the secondary cohorts, and then the flanking cohorts. So obviously the light cavalry is a great flanker. I'm going to change the preferred size of the flank down to 2, so that way we have 1 light cavalry flanking unit on either end of our army. So I'm going to change the first primary cohorts to our light infantry because I want the light infantry to go in first, and then I want the heavy infantry to hit next. So I don't know if that's the most efficient in this game. I know it's historically kind of how Rome tended to, they would actually do their Velites to do the skirmishing first, and then their Hastati, then their Principates, and then the Triarii in the back. But we don't quite have that level of micromanagement here. I'm going to test this. I have no idea. I mean, it's really we're putting up our light infantry first. So maybe if our light infantry goes against... Can I see the bonuses here? Not really. Well, if we look at the heavy infantry, we see that the heavy infantry gets a bonus against light infantry. So if our light infantry goes first and they send heavy infantry first, we might get spanked a bit. So I'm sure there's ways to calculate that and do a little bit of reconnaissance. But for now, we're going to stick with what's fun and historical. Let's pick light infantry as well, change the flank size to 2, and we need to assign a commander of the 2nd Legion. So Marcus Fulvius Curvus, come on down. You're the next general of the army. We've also received a invite to the Defensive League from Sabinia, which I think is right here. Sabinia? Now, a Defensive League is interesting. A Defensive League will let you join a group where if anyone attacks anyone in the group, the entire group responds and defends each other. However, you're able to still war internally. So I could join this Defensive League and then go to war with Sabinia, and they're, that's not breaking the league per se. It's just more of a defensive thing. I don't care though. I'm going to say no. Because we are Rome, we don't need no help. All right, let's move the 2nd Legion over to the border over here at Saticula in the province of Campania. And we'll move the 1st Legion over to Nola. Excellent. Unpausing the game, you're seeing here on the outliner that we've got a bunch of things queued up, a bunch of recruitment queued up. We are not currently losing money, but I think once this comes through, we will start to lose a bit of money. So I'm going to go into our treasury, our economy, and I'm going to lower the maintenance of our fleet. So I'm basically saying I want to pay less money to fleet maintenance. So this pretty much effectively makes our fleets relatively useless or very, very weak. But I'm hoping at the start of the game, we're not going to be doing a ton with the Navy, mostly the Army. What is increasing? Oh, it actually would give us a bonus of 10% to the morale, but it would just nuke us in terms of cost. Right. All right, so the first couple of recruits are coming out. They're going to, like I mentioned, go immediately over to where that legion was and join up. Now, I want to start looking at going to war on Samnium. I happen to know that at the 1st of December, or sorry, the 1st of January, we're going to get a certain event. So I'm going to let that roll on through. But coming up here, I'm going to have to talk to the Senate and get their approval to go kick ass and take names. So the first of the year rolls around, and we get our first kind of storyline event here. The ascendance of Rome, the end of the recent conflict with our enemies in Etruria and Samnium has left our republic as the strongest power on the Italian peninsula. So after all this is said and done, we're going to get claims on pretty much everything ever. If I go to my diplomacy screen, and I click on Rome to make sure it's chosen, you're going to see these are all the nations I have Casus Belli on, which is my claim. So if I hover over a nation, it actually kind of highlights in a thicker color. By the way, if you don't like how big this screen is, you can go into your settings interface and change the GUI, the GUI, the graphical user interface size, and make it super, super tiny. I won't force you to live with this, although I kind of like secretly like this. We'll put it back to like 0.9 or something, but I found 0.8 to be pretty effective for me, but everyone to each their own. But if you're just grumpy about it, this is going to be the best way to take care of, how big this type of stuff is over your map. Right. So we know we pretty much have a Cassius Belli against, what is this again? This is Samnium, the Samnite people. So we have Cassius Belli here. If I wanted to go to war, now if we look at the declare war option, we see kind of this hand that's just neutral. This is telling me that the Senate is divided over the idea of going to war on Samnium. There are 48 seats behind the idea. We could improve our opinion. Everyone's behind that idea. But if we want to go to war, we can actually click on the hand to find more information of each of our 5 factions. I don't think we've talked about the factions much yet. So this is our government screen. We have, of course, our consul and then all these different positions in the Roman government. I don't actually know what they're called. I'm sure they're called something more local to whatever your whatever group you're playing as, and maybe there's a tribal shaman, for example, or something like that. But we have, traditionally governmental titles here: praetor, censor, tribunus, militum, the prefect, the vulnarius, which I think is religious, or is that health? I think this is health. The augur is religion. So these give you bonuses based on that leader or that person's ability in that, whatever it is. So the augur is going to be giving you bonuses to your omens or to your religious power is based on their zeal attribute. Right. We also have 5 factions in the Senate, so you can see how many seats each of the factions have. It gives you, is this the support or the number of people in it? I don't actually know if this is 18 seats or what. I'd have to count, and math is actually really 5, 10, 15, 20, 21. 22. So yeah, this represents how many seats each of these parties has in the Senate, and then we're the leader of the Senate, of the government right now, so we get a big old extra one too. So if you befriend one of these factions, it will help make some of your decisions go through easier. In fact, if we click on Samnia again, and we go to the little informational panel, if you hover over any of the areas of support, any of the factions here, it'll tell you how you can get certain levels of support. So they're grayed out, meaning you don't have this right now. But if your ruler was at least 80 in popularity, you would get 25% support off of the base. If you were friends with if you were friends with the faction leader of the populist faction in this particular example, you would get another 25%. It's also telling you if you force this through, 6%, all of these people would have their loyalty reduced by 6% if we chose to go through with it without their approval. Now, we're luckily at the start of the game, so it's not going to hurt us as bad, but you really need to start buttering up your government if you want to take more aggressive actions or things that are unpopular. So in theory, we could try to befriend the leader of the populist faction. We could actually click on Gnaeus Flavius and try to make friends with him. I've really not had too much luck when I've done this before, and even with his support, it's not really enough to make this a happier marriage when we wind up going to war. So I'm just going to choose to actually push it through. If we push through the war goal here, we're going to get a flat 5% tyranny, not 5%, sorry, 5 to our tyranny, which does certain things. So we're almost pretty much at the position we need to be. I'm not too worried about the fact that we've got troops coming up still, because well, I should play it a little bit smarter. This is how I get myself into trouble. Let's look before we leap. Samnium has 8 cohorts. They also are in an alliance with Lusania, and they are in a defensive league. Oh, it's only defensive league with Lusania. So Lusania can field 17 cohorts. So overall, we should have the numbers, as well as the fact that we've got a crap ton of subjects who are going to be forced to come to our aid. Excellent. You there, hi, we're Rome, how are you? We're going to give the war goal of take Apulia. Now, the war goal will give you less bad boy, less aggressive expansion if you take it after the war is done, if you demand that territory, but everything outside of your war goal is going to cost you extra aggressive expansion. So, we'll talk about that when we get there, but this is our war goal. The enemy allies will be called is Lusania. They are going to join, and our allies are forced to join because they are our subject. It is going to increase our tyranny by 5. Awesome. Yes, no problem. So Rome is now at war. We're looking at the enemy force here, 8,000, which is wonderful because it's split away from everyone else. Now, I want our actual leader here to take the first strike. So I'm going to move him into Beneventum and then move him into Bovanium and go to war here. We'll talk about some of the different aspects of combat, but before we do, I want to talk about forts real quick. Forts have made a return, and they do exude an area of control. If I go into... the red actually indicates that there's a fort here. So if I go into the area that the fort controls... Now, a fort controls all the provinces around it. What that means is if I move into this territory, I cannot go laterally into another one. So I can't go from Beneventum into Tuticum. I'd actually have to pull out the way I came, go all the way around, and then enter it, and then enter the fort territory. If I wanted to leave the fort territory, I'd actually have to go out the way I came, not any other direction. So forts can be very, very strong, especially in positions where the layout of the map allows you to lock places down. Like right here, as we're going into mainland France, we could lock down all of these tiles, as well as into the mountains here as well, the Cisalpine area. So forts can be extremely useful. However, forts do come with quite a hefty management price tag, right? So forts, we're currently paying 3 gold a month just to maintain, what, 1 fort, 2 forts? We have one in Veii and one in Rome. Is that how you pronounce it? Veii? I'm going to say Veii, the city of Veii. And Rome also has a fort. So we'll probably be nuking those at some point soon. Right, so here we are. It would actually be more, it would behoove us to probably attack our enemy here with overwhelming force. So once our first legion gets into position, I'm going to have the first legion start off attacking, and I'm going to reinforce them with the second legion. So that way we have the minimum amount of time in the same tile. If I look at the first legion and we look at the amphora here, we can see that we're okay currently on supply because we have a weight of 9. We are going to be getting more troops soon, but even so, we're still going to be fine on our supply limit. Once we get into Bovanium, though, we're going to be a little bit over or undersupplied. Undersupplied, yeah. The other thing to keep in mind... Oh, you're leaving already? Boo. The other thing to keep in mind here is that we currently have... Wait a minute, did I not pick a lead? What happened here? Oh, I have a unit that's actually trying to stack with my leader. So that's why it's showing me 2,000 with no leader here. No problem. Click through a bit. There we go. So... each of your armies has an action or kind of a stance or an action here. It's how you, I guess, position yourself to go into battle. Now, it's kind of this big rock, paper, scissors game. Certain stances are going to have bonuses against other stances. So, for example, if we chose the shock action, it's going to be more effective against envelopment tactics than bottleneck. Bottleneck would actually be more effective against a shock action. They also give you, I think it's just... effectiveness. I don't know what effectiveness translates to. Is it more damage per turn? Is it more defensive per turn? I have no idea. But it gives you a percentile bonus to one of your types of military. So the bottleneck would be efficient because we have quite a few heavy infantry. It looks like skirmishing would be the most efficient because we have a mix of light units, right? We've got light infantry, light cavalry, and archers as well. But once everyone stacks together, that'll probably change. I think they're actually committed to moving now into this territory, so I'm going to go ahead and counter them. We should be able to catch them here. So you're leaving on 1st of March, and we're going to get there on the 25th of February. My second legion, I'm going to go ahead and have us follow. Actually, I'm going to make use of this action called Forced March. It increases our movement speed by 50%. So it does also, though, increase the weight of our army, so it can cost you in supplies. You want to be a little bit careful about how you use that. Right, so we are now committed. We have a little lock symbol, which means we moved halfway into the next zone. Therefore, we are committed to moving here. This little symbol here is indicating that there's going to be a battle, and it's estimating that we're going to win because we have a stronger army and we have higher morale, although the terrain is to their benefit. I'm going to keep, by the way, my tactic here on shock, mostly because that's normally what I do to start out. All right, the battle has begun. We are 10,000 versus 7,000. They are using a deception tactic while we are using shock, which apparently cancels each other out. We have a little bit more discipline than they do, which I think affects your overall morale. You could already see their morale, for some reason, is at like 0.17. I don't know if we got super lucky or if they did something that screwed it all up, but I think we just nuked them all. Yeah, sure enough. So let's cancel the 2nd Legion's movement. There's already some territory that's been captured, it looks like, by our allies. Now, remember, we just wiped out the army that the Samnites had. They no longer have any cohorts. However, the Lusania group down here still has 17 cohorts in the field. So I want to keep my main force kind of pushed forward a bit to try to intercept and crush the enemy. That's personally my tactic. I'm sure there's other better ways to do things, but I like to make sure we kind of smash the enemy first, then go back and start trying to capture forts. We can still move through their territory too, because the only forts here come down to about Velia and Grumentum. So we're trying to look for the enemy army somewhere in this area and try to intercept and pin them down with our forces. Right, let's speed things up just a bit. So I'm trying to keep an eye on where the enemy is at. Now the cool thing is, let's see, do we have a spare cavalry unit somewhere? Where's our big army? Here we go. I have 3,000 cavalry here, so I'm going to use the Create New Unit button and take one of these light cavalry, give them a commander, Quintus Tremulus, and I'm going to give them the action of reconnaissance, which basically says that this unit is going to try to do its own actions with a certain type of archetype, right? So they're going to try to sweep for and report enemy movements in the vicinity. Not so much useful in the very small amount of space here, but when we're talking about, you know, going into Gaul later on, or going into, you know, Spain or something, knowing where the enemy is very, very important, and knowing the disposition of the troops, because you can see here that they are one archer unit in the tooltip. One light infantry unit here in the tooltip as well. So very, very helpful. We don't see their forces yet, so I'm going to wait a moment. Oh, by the way, I also can cancel my forced march, because it does reduce how much morale I get I spend every turn. No, sorry, it's how much morale I recover. There we go. I'll get my term straight one day. We should roughly have about 15,000 for everyone here coming up. Yep, here comes the rest of the reinforcements. We should be able to move forward just a bit more. So I'm going to push Legion, 2nd Legion up, and the 1st Legion up behind them. My goal is to try to entice the enemy to fight the weakest looking Legion, and then push our other supporting Legion in behind. Now, this is letting you know if the enemy can currently see your stack, right? So the enemy can currently see the 1st Legion. I think because we are next to terrain that they own, or sorry, a territory that they own. If we were to cap all of this, I think we might be able to make them blind. So I'm going to try to, let's see, let's do this. Let's move the 1st Legion in to Volkai. That was a tooltip about somebody threatening someone else and they folded. So what I want to do is try to either have them split like they're doing, or entice them to attack us outright. I'll be able to reinforce at that point, and we should be able to overwhelm them in detail? Yeah, sure. Defeat in detail, victory in detail. Hey, they've actually managed to leave themselves a nice juicy stack of 9,000 troops. Now they could be putting the same, pulling the same ploy on me, but I don't think so. I'm pretty smart, and the AI is not. AI completely clicked off the map. Right, so I could go into this tile. I have to pull all the way out and go over. So let's go ahead while they're split up, give our 1st Legion the forced march to join the 2nd Legion. And as the first... Oh, you're moving away. Hey, there we go. There's the Legion coming in behind us out of nowhere. So they are going to leave this area on 12 August. We're going to get there on 17 August. Now, I think I can do a forced march here into combat. I don't think forced march hurts us in combat. Like, right now, we're almost maxed out on morale. So, yeah. Do you lose morale by each tile you cross? I'm kind of curious about that. Maybe not. I don't think so. Morale recovers by X amount. That's basically 0 right now because we have Force March on the 1st Legion. But yeah, I don't think it hurts you by just having it on. So now we're going to get there on the 13th of August. We're going to trap that 2nd cohort that's split off from them. So this is perfect. We're going to grab... Okay, they actually canceled both of their movements. So I'm going to wait. Can I cancel my own movement? I can. I'm going to wait about, let's see, 14 August. I'll wait a couple more days. And they're going to be 19 August now, and we're going to be 16. So we're going to get there before they leave. And as soon as the 1st Legion gets into Potentia here, I'll have them come up and reinforce the 2nd Legion. Either way, we should be able to win this fight handily. Looks like they're also trying to reinforce, but no matter what, we should be able to get this one under our belt. Here we go, the Battle of Venusia. We have Marcus Fulvius Corvus leading the way. the shock action versus shock action. We have 5% more discipline than they do, and you can kind of see every turn how many troops are dying. You also can see the green here, their morale bar is much, much lower and going down faster than ours. And it's literally so quick early game sometimes that you can't even figure out what's going on. Right, we've won the day. I'm going to go ahead and turn the forced march off and try to move into this tile to see if I can't snag one of these other legions here, or one of their, their other areas. Are they all called Legion too? That's silly. Only we are the true legion. So we have an offer of trade that just disappeared because I was too slow. We'll get to some of those later on. And in fact, I think this is a good point to go ahead and wrap up this first episode. We will get to more, of course, very, very soon. Next episode, I hope to finish off the expansion into Lusania and also the Samnites, and we'll try to win this victory and go into a bit more of peacetime mode because we need to start recovering some manpower and integrating our loyal subjects. Thank you all so much for joining me. If this is the first time you've been to Tobal Plays, this channel, we do have a Discord, which is linked below in the Read More section. Feel free to come by, or I'm going to actually pin a comment so you can also see it there. Feel free to come by, say hello, and give us your opinions of the game. Let me know if you'd like to see anything specific in the game. I'd be more than happy to take a look for you. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me for this first episode of Imperator Rome. Again, thank you to Paradox for allowing me the use of this review copy. I do appreciate that. And yeah, more to come soon. I look forward to seeing you again. Until then, please do take care.